panellists, we've got Natalie Dillon from Three Fish and Alex Trimmer from Sosume. They both use more sustainable fabric options in their garments. And this is really picking up on the conversation that Kate started around the choice of materials. And I'm sure there'll be many people here who have also had experience of trying to source different fabrics and the challenges associated with them. So again, perhaps we'll get these guys just to provide a short overview of their businesses, and then we'll kick off with a few questions once we're ready with the microphone. Thanks, Nat.
Our company, Three Fish, is a fair trade and organic cotton clothing company. We have our own retail label. We rely on a fair trade certified supply chain that is wholly and solely in India. We choose India because India is a great place to grow organic cotton as compared to Australia. It's all organic cotton. It's all it's rain-fed cotton, that graph that she was just using, and we try to produce as much of it as possible carbon neutral. And we also choose to use GOTS certified dyes and inks, which is another one of the labels that are up there. Our role at the process is that with the marketing end, we have a label that goes out to a variable number of stockists at the moment, but sometimes it's 50 and then sometimes it's sliding back in the other direction, particularly at the moment where there's such a change at the retail stockist level. But that's actually a small part of our business. My background and my husband's background is actually at a very corporate level. And so we're changing the use of conventional cotton garments, which are sucked into corporate wear, uniforms, promotional campaigns and so forth, which has traditionally relied on the lowest common denominator from an environmental standpoint and from a social justice perspective. And so we're converting more and more clients to using fair trade and organic cotton. It means that over the course of the business we've produced about 140,000 garments now, and are currently working with organisations like The Body Shop, World Vision, Plan, Compassion, and taking it more and more corporate, in line with corporate sustainability and social responsibility goals. We're personally particularly passionate about the fair trade side of things. It's really important to us that no children are employed along our supply chain, and that we do as much as we possibly can from an environmental and a social standpoint.
My name's Alex and I started a business called Sosume, and I actually never studied fashion or anything like that. I did a business degree at ANU and just sort of fell into this line of work. So I thought there was a niche market for it, and sort of like what Kate was saying, I came across modal, Tencel, Lyocell, and these sort of to tick all the boxes for me, as opposed to organic cotton and things like that, purely because I wanted to create a more luxurious brand. And I just thought the handling feel of these fabrics were a bit better. Plus things like water usage and stuff like that also played an important role. So yeah, basically I started sourcing these fabrics from all parts of the world, mainly Italy and France and now Japan. But as of recently, I'm sort of having these issues with transportation, and I want to try and source locally, which is now making me find a local supplier, and I found organic wool from New Zealand, which has been really great. I also dabbled in organic cotton again from India, certified organic and certified fair trade. But I do a really small run of those sort of things. And but yeah, the organic wool from New Zealand I think is where I really want to focus my energy. Everything's made in Melbourne. I'm pretty sure the wool still needs to travel to China to get spun up, so it's pretty avoidable, the whole transport issue. Another thing is I wish I could get more corporate. I did a pitch to an airline to try and redo their whole sleepwear business class. I pretty much redid all of their sleepwear in 100% recycled cotton polyester blend. I did it for under $10 a set, and they rejected it. So I'd love to see what the other guy got, because it was like $9 top and bottom, delivered to their door, all in recycled fabric. But
It's a good corporate CSR story as well.
yeah, like I think
A lot of the corporates are interested. I think there's a lot of pressure on their bottom line at the minute, but at the same time, there's
especially for someone like an airline.
Yeah, the airlines, it's a tough gig, and it's finding the leaders in those fields to actually, like the Body Shop and a number of the others, where their brand is linked to doing as much of the right thing as possible as well, so that ultimately if they have child labour on the rest of it, it's still hard. Because you are competing against $5
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know how much they're paying.
or $10 hoodies on Target.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're paying $7,000 a seat. I don't think it's too much to ask.
If we can just go back to the fabrics themselves, one of the things that people have mentioned to me is that it's difficult to, like, how do you sort of begin navigating the sourcing of the fabrics? And I know for both of you this has been something you spent a lot of time doing, particularly because the fabrics that you source aren't from Australia, they're from overseas. So I wonder if you could perhaps, going back to when you started doing this, just give the group a little bit of insight into how you started doing that.
I went to a trade show basically. I went to one in New York. It was Tex World. And it's sponsored by Lensing, so of course they're going to have a lot of guys saying how great Lensing is, but it does seem to be pretty good on the face of it, and that's how I got to know things like Motorhull and Tencel. And but then once you understand the fabrics, it's then trying to find a supplier that's going to give you the quality that you need to start a brand, and that's where I think, shot myself in the foot come second season. Was, I picked this mill on the outskirts of Milan. It ticks all the boxes, it sounds great, you can market it as like Italian fibre. And but it peeled second wash and then tore apart third wash. And there goes your $140 singlet that no one wants to buy again. So then I got back on the horse, went to a French one, which was fantastic, but it would start to peel after a year, and that's what Kate was saying as well, is that these fabrics have a tendency to peel. Yeah, bamboo, all those sort of man-made cellulosic fibres. And then, third time lucky, I found this one in Japan, and it's anti-peeling. It's the t-shirt I'm wearing now. It's 2 years strong, wash it every week with denim, and no signs of wear. So you pay for what you get. I'm paying double, but Japan's closer than France, so I feel I'm sort of helping a little bit, and it's going to last. It's not going to be thrown in the bin.
Yeah.
And that's another huge issue. So
I think that the lasting and the use is another big thing for our market. We're obviously in very different market spaces as well, even from a retail brand perspective. Our audiences, it's mostly classics and basics, and like me, they get thrown into the washing machine with the dirtiest pair of sneakers and mud-covered kids' overalls, and they're not treated very nicely, and they come out, wash and retain their shape and all of those sort of things, but also from a corporate perspective. We needed a fabric that performed and was perceived as being able to be a direct substitute for a conventional product that these companies were using. And at this point, I've not found anything else that's been able to deliver that direct swap, other than organic cotton at a price point.
And that seems to be the challenge as well, trying to keep the price point still relevant to your demographic.
It's absolute, and particularly when you're playing in the corporate sector, it's got to hit a price point. I suppose we also tackle sustainability at a market level as well. So we're over time we're working closer and closer with our clients. And so we even have a situation where people will say, I can't afford, I want to, but my this year's budget just doesn't accommodate it. And we continue to keep in touch with them over the course of that year, and as they're preparing for budget time, and we've just done it with another client, they're actually calling us and saying, okay, so where's the cotton price at? Where are you current? Let's recost that, and let's talk at numbers. So we talk around marketing campaigns and how to be more focused and targeted, reduce the numbers, the units that are required. We can increase the unit cost and actually redo their corporate budgets. But that's a long process of conversion.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for either Alex or Nat? Oh.
Have you both of you noticed the change in the attitudes of your markets since you made business?
With mine, I think I'm actually sold as you touch it, you want to buy it. They don't actually know about the eco-credentials behind the brand.
This is some of Alex's stuff here.
Yeah, but that jacket's all organic wool. The top underneath is the same fabric as I'm wearing now, it's just modal silk. So the idea behind it is just it'll last a very, very long time and use minimal pesticides. So yeah, people tend to buy it based on how it, I guess, looks or its ease of use. And
I agree that in any market, I'm not sure what proportion of the market actually buys anything on their eco credentials alone. I don't know them.
16.
Based on that's a very dark green end of the spectrum, and as you're trying to attract and convert people down the spectrum into the big middle part of that bell-shaped curve of adoption, you've got to play. It's got to be a great garment to wear. It's got to keep wearing. It's got to perform on all of the other elements that you would evaluate any other garment in your wardrobe. But then it's got to be underpinned more and more.
That's why I wish I had retail shops so you can get that direct feedback. Being online, it's really hard to communicate to them other than, where they live, maybe their date of birth and the fact they're a female or a male. But other than that, you talk to a stockist and they've got to talk to the sales assistant who's 16 and, you're never going to get that information about why people are buying it. I do know 2 out of the number of customers online who bought it because it's eco, because they commented on something. One was in Toronto and the other was in Sydney.
Can you get that through Facebook?
Yeah, that sort of thing, and just like direct marketing, but mainly through Facebook, things like that. They comment more.
Any other questions? Yes.
Natalie, maintaining the integrity of your supply chain is, I imagine, a serious challenge, especially an overseas supply chain. Can you tell us how you do that?
Yeah, I suppose we kicked off with a global, when we started the company, we started with a global search. We've done a lot of research on the independent certification programs that are available and decided that Fair Trade offered the most robust system of certification and that it covered off the broadest range of elements that we were concerned about. And so to a certain extent we rely on their auditing process of our of the individual pieces of our supply chain. But and then also obviously we pursued Australian Certified Organic because it had resonance with our market. Worked with Carbon Reduction Institute on the carbon side of things, and continue to work with GOTS on the certification over dyes and inks. But at the end of the day, it's getting on a plane and walking it. In our case, for us, it was walking to the end of the supply chain and going and meeting the cotton farmers in central Maharashtra, understanding the impact at a community level on soils, seeing the difference at a soil level that organic cotton farming makes to conventional cotton farming, and tracing back through, we have a number of factories who we work with, and spinners, dye houses, a whole And it takes time, and it takes commitment, and it takes constant questioning. I think by comparison to our experience in China prior to Three Fish, there's a really good reason why fair trade doesn't exist in China. And so I guess we approached with a very strong sense of scepticism about claims that are made through supply chains in China. That's not to say that claims don't get made in India or Bangladesh or South America or that are simply a lie. It happens. We actually developed our own independent checklist and questionnaire that we put all of our factories through. And that's a 3-page document that covers off all of the key elements so that we are independently satisfied with what they do and how they go about their business. But things go wrong. We have, over time, you develop more and more stringent quality control programs, quality control points, tech packs, specifications, and as I was talking with Kelly earlier, you know, even if you put your blackest hat on, you can still find someone somewhere will still find a way to stuff it up. So, not necessarily, we've never had an ethical or environmental question over our supply chain, but yeah, I can occasionally do some pretty special things on garment construction.
We've probably got time for one last question if anyone's got one. Yes.
Have either of you had any experience with the Sosume Style group in the US that are doing the global walk for designers and actually walk through the chain of their materials? Source for Style.
Has anyone else heard
that
of
website? They've got a really
I get their emails, but I haven't heard about that particular walk. We've done it with the Fair Trade Association and here in Australia. But that's one, I think, and Lara would be able to say, I think that was more from a coffee perspective. Can't wait for it to happen on a cotton perspective. Fabulous.
They have a very good education section on their website as well.
They do, yes. For small businesses.
That's what I'm thinking. Is it worthwhile for you as a small business person to go to them, or is it just all too, they want bigger people and it's all too hard and you've still got to verify yourself?
I don't know. I think it's a very commercial reality to time in a small business that it really does, it comes down to how many hours you've got in a day, to be perfectly frank. You get to a point where you've got a supply chain and you have strengths within that supply chain, and you know, I take my hat off to Alex. 3 cracks at getting a fabric right is extraordinary, and the sheer commercial reality of pilling, you know, and one singlet and recovering those customers who have had that experience and recovering their trust, and it's hard, and you go, how far can we go? How much further can we go at this particular point in time? You've got to get a few seasons going. At a retail level, you've got to get a few turns going at a corporate level, doing the same thing, really, to a certain extent, to survive commercially, particularly in this climate. There's some ironic smile going.
But I think that's the thing, that for a small business to take this on, it has involved a lot of hard work on your part in setting up the relationships and the trust with your supply chain as well. But perhaps
and let's be frank, cold hard cash, literally out of your own back pocket, that is walking the talk.
And have you found that's paying off?
Over time, yeah. But it's just like, you know, you have to address the current issue in the environment at the moment, which is
Keeping
things
your
are
business
tight
alive.
and focus on other avenues, re-strategize certain things or certain parts of the business model.
I think you've got to, I think if you're concerned there's a price to pay for sleeping well at night. But, you know, the cold hard reality is that there's a lot of small businesses that are just hanging on.
Yeah, and they have to be financially
Small and
sustainable.
large, sorry, I
Yeah.
should couch that. We were just talking with one of our suppliers last night, and one of the largest eco-focused labels in Europe, who has 45 stores across Europe, is going to slash their stores from 45 to 15 in the next 2 months.
Wow. Wow.
And they're one of their major clients. You know, that was one of the 3 we were discussing.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's the reality, and that cascade of that decision and what that means down a fair trade supply chain is extraordinary. Or any supply chain, that matters. And that's the reality. And you know, we were just discussing earlier the number of individual retailers in Australia who are just shutting up. They're not selling their businesses, they're shutting the doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you've got to continually find ways of talking to your customers
in new ways, yeah.
in new ways. And I do think, I mean, we like to talk about the work that we've done environmentally and from a social justice perspective, because it's how people learn. But you've got to still lead with the fact that this feels great, it's really lovely to wear.
And the product needs to sell itself.
It does all these other things as well.
Terrific. All right.
Then you get a bit more engagement.
I can hear people wanting to have a coffee break, so we might finish it there. But thank you both to Nat and Alex. And I also forgot to mention, thank Ellie and Monica before for their involvement in the panel session, but really appreciate their honesty in sharing with us their experiences, because they are being quite open with us, so thank you.